Hello, my loves. Happy 7/7. I know it's been a very long time since I posted here, but I'm looking forward to reestablishing more regular scheduled messages and information here on this channel. I really do want to really go into ways of embodying our ascension, those ways of taking what we know spiritually and actually living it in a real, genuine, embodied way. Those like down to earth type of things. So, anyway, with that, I want to just open up today because there's been a specific energy coming through for the broader collective energies. For those of you that are connected to me on Harmonious Hearts, I did just post a message there specifically for a masculine in a uncomfortable relationship. But here, I want to talk about some of these dynamics that I see playing out in the bigger collective. There have been some very deep themes connected to family, connected to property, and connected to relationships needing to unravel in the way that they previously were. There seem to be topics coming up around sort of this misinterpretation of the energies, a lack of appreciation for what has been given. But this is actually a gift because when you're giving to someone who's not actually appreciating it, that's actually a signal that this is a codependent dynamic. And deep down, their soul is craving to be pushed to their next levels on their own. And they're also pushing you out of the codependency dynamic and being responsible for them. It's a very fascinating situation because it may appear in these type of dynamics where the person will be projecting or blaming or attempting to make you feel guilty for no longer providing for them or interacting with them in the way that you used to. But ironically, also at the same time, the way that they're treating you and not appreciating you and disrespecting you is prompting you to set boundaries and change your behaviors in the way you interact with them. So on the surface, it may look like they're angry at you for setting the boundaries, but at a soul level, they've actually been inspiring you to do so. Okay. It's kind of a different perspective of how to look at it because their soul is actually pushing them to grow to their next levels and simultaneously supporting you to enact boundaries and help yourself grow to your next levels. And as you set boundaries with them, you're helping them grow. So it really is that next leveling up, but it can be a very uncomfortable situation when you're in a dynamic with someone who isn't actually understanding or truly receiving what you've been providing. Okay. And you might also find within these dynamics that you are just straight, full, and all exhausted, have nothing left to give to this dynamic in this way anyway. That's also another good indicator that it is time to allow it to continue to evolve, right? And this is like, can be a deep reset on the connection, on the relationship dynamics. Like I said, this can be family, friends, coworkers, neighbors, romantic partnerships, business partnerships. This type of dynamic can be presenting in multiple different ways. Some of the themes that are coming up is that living situations are changing quite swiftly. It's actually coming through as I speak this that there might be business partnerships dissolving or marriages dissolving or long-term relationships dissolving, um, parent and child relationship dynamics shifting, right? And really some might be um I don't know, I feel like there's a lot of different types of situations. I just had like three or four flash in my mind where some might be coming closer in a new way and some might be parting in a new way. This doesn't feel in particular like if this is family, that this is the be all end all and everything is done. It's like I said, a reset. And it all really just depends on what's supportive for you. Sometimes it can feel very supportive to just say, you know what, this is done. I can't do it anymore. You drop your boundaries all the way in, and then you let it go and you give it space and grace to do what it needs to do. But that's another big dynamic that's coming up, is that just because a situation needs a reset, it also doesn't mean that either person is bad or wrong. What I'm sensing is that everyone is ready to level up and grow in new ways. So, some of the best things that you can do is actually just choose what you want to participate in, right? You can let go and work on releasing any judgments around what other people choose. Focus on supporting and providing what is safe and stable for you and the dynamic, right? And make your decisions based on how you can be responsible for your own happiness, your own peace, and your own um, positive way of living, right? And then allow the other person to step into what is right for them, okay? I think this is a really big pocket that is wanting some attention, which is that unraveling the codependent dynamics. And this can be important to reset because the world that we grew up in was really based in a very codependent dynamic, a codependent way of being, right? Like you were depending on the government, or you're depending on your teachers, or your parents, or your boss, or your spouse, or you're this, or you're that. And it doesn't mean that we don't have interdependent connections and relationships. Those are very important dynamics to develop, right? It's important. We want relationships. That's what makes life enjoyable. It's how we learn, it's how we grow, it's how we experience, right? But it's replacing the codependency with interdependence. So I think actually that's going to be my next video because this feels really clear, like it wants to come up. So I'm going to write myself a little note: codependency versus interdependence. Thanks for rolling with me as we're getting back in the groove here on this channel. I would love to hear from you. Are you experiencing these types of situations? Are you experiencing ways where you're working to unravel codependency and you're sort of feeling like backlash from others, or you're feeling projected onto? Maybe you've already gone through this before and you kind of understand how to drop in and not take it personal. Maybe you're finding it uncomfortable to be in these types of situations. Maybe you want to talk about deeper ways of embodying interdependent relationships. I just kind of want to air it out, open it up, and put it out there. I would love to hear from you if this feels like an aligned topic. I think that our overall quality of life does depend on our relationships and those interactions, and or how we handle uncomfortable situations, right? And having the confidence to hold standards and boundaries for ourselves and allowing others to make their own decisions and choices, right? Because sometimes two people have different perspectives, different ways of doing things, different timelines, or different perspectives, or different lessons that are needing to be learned. And sometimes we just have to love those people from afar and let them go learn their lessons. This doesn't mean you don't love them or care about them. It means you're honoring your own trajectory and you're honoring their trajectory, right? So some of this is like more about unraveling what we think love means, right? What is truly loving? What is true interdependence? What is truly healthy relationship dynamics, right? And it's going to look different in different situations because really and truly it's about getting healthy with the relationship with yourself. And then as you're working on that, you're going to approach each person and each situation differently because each person and each situation is different. So your dynamic and your boundaries with one person may look different with another person based on their capacity to meet you and share in reciprocity with you, right? Like, how much trust are you building with this other person? How much do they trust you, right? And it might not be a lot at first, but as you build and grow a relationship, you're going to find the more trust you have for one another, the more reciprocity is present, right? And then you may find even with people that you fully trust and you fully have reciprocity with, there are times in your connection where you're still needing to reset the energies between you. This is not a bad thing. This actually is a signal of significant growth, right? You've pushed each other to a point where now you might need a little bit of a rest period to rest, to digest, to manifest, right? To embody. So, however, you've taught each other or inspired one another, now you're going to take that information and learn it for yourself, right? You're going to embody it in your own unique way. There are lots of different relationship dynamics, right? Lots of different ways that people teach us. Sometimes they teach us through triggering us in uncomfortable situations. Sometimes they teach us by offering friendly, loving insights to us, right? And then everything in between, right? So it's really about learning how to discern someone else's capacity to meet you and also honor your capacity of where you are. And our levels of capacity to hold space with others may change over time. They may change with certain situations, right? Because we're all human, right? And no one can be on full blast 100% of the time. It's not natural. And honestly, it's not really super healthy, right? Because we need that space to go within and process and take time for ourselves and cultivate our inner union energies so that we can have those interdependent relationships, right? We can show up in our relationships as our best self when we actually know who we are, right? So I know that this is kind of taking on a life of its own, but I'm not going to censor it and I'm not going to do anything with this, but just post it as raw as it is. I hope that it was helpful. I hope that you find something of value within it. I know that there's a lot going on. A lot of people have been sleeping a lot and feeling quite exhausted. It does feel that these energies with the 7/7 portal and everything else that we have going on are really bringing in some deepening into self-care within our own experiences, but also within our relationship dynamics. Okay. As you put yourself first, right? Just like on the plane, you give yourself the oxygen first, then you have the capacity to show up for others in reciprocity in new and deeper ways. Okay. So, like I used to always say, love yourself more so you can love others more. All right, my loves. I hope you enjoyed this. It feels so good to be back. I'm really, really, really looking forward to seeing what we co-create here on this channel. I'm going to put all of my information in the pinned comment, and I will see you very soon. Much love. Take care.